I'm Russ Froese, and you are watching Citypulse at 6 tonight.
The Senators got us all high today.
BC's biggest cash crop will be illegal for how much longer? New support to legalize marijuana.
I'm education specialist Mike Bothwell, and this is Anise. He's going into grade 3, and he's part of a new wave in education in BC.
It's great, fantastic.
And our living city salutes a local woman who is giving back to women on the downtown east side. Good evening. A lot of pot smokers are on a high today. The Senate, our chamber of sober second thought, is advocating legalized intoxication. The Senate committee says marijuana use should be legal. Dave Lefebvre joins us with the details. Dave?
Russ, for 12 years, one local pot crusader has made it his mission to make marijuana legal, and today he got one step closer. A surprising report from 9 Canadian senators suggests we should not only decriminalize, but legalize what's considered a $6 billion business here in British Columbia alone.
Hello, Pot TV viewers around the world. Today in Canada is a momentous day, and I'd like to be able to tell
At 1 o'clock this afternoon, Mark Emery addressed the world. For a momentous occasion, he called, the special subcommittee of the Senate has decided that marijuana should be legalized. This is a big day for Vancouver's mayoral candidate.
It's the most significant development in the history of the battle against cannabis prohibition in Canada.
And Emery probably knows what he's talking about, having long fought to legalize weed both in and out of courts.
This kind of report indicates that we could end all that, end all the police corruption, end all the massive budgets we give police to fight a drug war that can't be won, the civil liberties of millions of Canadians that have been flushed down the toilet in the last 30 years.
Let's bring this down to exactly what it is. It's just a report. It's not binding in any way, shape, or form. Why is this different from any other report that's come out like this?
I think this will embolden the Supreme Court. I think it will embolden lower courts. I think it will also put police departments on the defensive. They're clearly a minority. The Supreme Court will hear a case in December regarding the complete legalization of marijuana. And when the Senate, 9 out of 9 of people appointed by conservative prime ministers is endorsing the complete legalization of marijuana, the Supreme Court will feel emboldened.
Don't criticize, legalize.
The Senators got us all high today, so to speak.
The man fighting the Supreme Court battle is David Malmo Levine.
This helps me immensely, and it'll put even more pressure on our government to do something before activists get to the Supreme Court this December and do it themselves.
That pressure hardly compares to what will come from a United States still determined to fight a war on drugs. Despite that government's inevitable resistance, many patrons at a cannabis cafe downtown were American.
I think that's great. That's one of the reasons I came. I came to just to see exactly what was going on here.
And Russ, clearly that last woman came on the right day with so much happening regarding the marijuana controversy here in the country. If you're wondering what the chief of police here in Vancouver said, first he wouldn't comment without having read the report, but then he later went on to dismiss any notion of legalizing marijuana, either in Vancouver or in the whole country as a whole. As far as Canadians, how does this apply to Canadians? It has huge implications for the thousands of Canadians who currently have criminal records as a result of either possession or trafficking. The senators went as far as to say that they would either forget or that those criminal convictions would no longer count. And as far as the U.S. issue, it's a big issue, of course, the U.S. fighting a war on drugs and firmly against this. The senators went so far as to say, and I'll get this straight here, though what we are recommending for our country has an impact on our friends and neighbors, Canada must make its own decisions in the best interest of its citizens. It is important to note, though, as well, this is a report and what happens with it from here.
A lot of legal hurdles yet.
Indeed.
Thanks, Dave. Dave Lefebvre reporting tonight. Now to our Olympic bid. And how will the hordes of Olympic spectators get to Whistler in 2010 if our bid succeeds? Well, it is a question our money specialist, Dag Sharman, has been looking into in detail. Dag.
Well, Russ, we have learned that the province is considering an alternate route to Whistler. That route would start near Port Moody, run along the Indian River and above Indian Arm. The chief of the Tsleil-Waututh First Nation, whose territory this road would go through, tells me that they have been approached by a developer wanting to build this road. We'll show you now where that road would go. It would start down here around Port Moody in that area and then it would cut along the Indian Arm and follow the Indian River up. Now, it would come out actually around Squamish, Russ, and then it would join up with Highway 99. You'd be on Highway 99 for the rest of the trip to Whistler. So there is an existing logging road from Squamish all the way down to the tip here of Indian Arm, but there's no road beyond that. It would all have to be built from scratch there.
Brand new highway, where it's expensive. What's the cost?
Very expensive. In fact, of all of the options for a new road or fixing the Sea to Sky Highway, it is the most expensive. $3.9 billion is the price tag, with a B, billion, for that road. That is the most costly of all the options, and it compares to $1.2 billion to upgrade the Sea to Sky Highway, Russ.
No, but Dag, it would solve a number of problems. One, they wouldn't have to shut down the Sea to Sky if they tried to upgrade it. Would open up the whole area for development and take some of the congestion off the Fraser Valley.
It certainly would, and it would avoid having to go through Vancouver to get to Whistler. So you would avoid the increased congestion that would be caused within Vancouver itself. But it is also controversial. They can expect to meet with opposition from residents of the Port Moody area. Some of them will be against this, even though it would bring a lot of money. Some businesses would be happy because of all the economic opportunity created by funneling all those people through that area. But environmentalists would also be upset about cutting a new road through there. There'd be opposition there, and they would have to appease two First Nations, the Tsleil-Waututh, which is formerly the Burrard First Nation, as well as the Squamish First Nation. So there would have to be negotiations there.
And you're going to give us a better look at this route tomorrow?
We're going to take a little ride up this route, at least the part that is already existing, which is the logging road from the Squamish area. We'll let you see what the challenges are to building that road and where it would actually go. And we'll talk about how it could be financed. $3.9 billion, a lot of money. We'll tell you about some of the options. We should also mention tonight, speaking of money, that dollar, what happened to it today? It plummeted. By the end of the day, it was off more than half a cent. The Canadian dollar down 0.61% to 63.81 cents US. This is because the Bank of Canada held its scheduled interest rate announcement today. They kept their key rate the same, and that hurt the Canadian dollar because traders expected rates to rise. When the Bank of Canada kept the rates the same, those traders sold off the Canadian dollar, Russ.
Thanks to Dag, our money specialist. Now let's look at the rest of the money market numbers. In most schools, the books and pencils were out all day today, unlike yesterday when most students spent only a short hour or two in class, and today it was back to reality.
So you put that at the top, and then start with those problems for your warm-up. I'm really impressed. Everybody's got their pencils sharpened, their math books out. Essentially, I want to get the students back into their routine, forgetting that they've had this long break, summer break of playing, and get back to school.
This is Kenneth Gordon School in Burnaby. It is one of BC's independent schools that serves about 10% of the student population. Also in full gear today, an example of what may be the future of education in this province, a specialty school, the kind of provincial government says it would like to see more of. Our education specialist, Mike Bothwell, takes a look.
Hi, Valerie. How was your summer? She's grown. Yeah.
Bridges and roads are my favorite, and I like drawing cars. I'm good at drawing cars, so I'm going to draw some cars too.
Away from class, Anis has always been interested in the arts. Now his school has become Vancouver's first elementary school specializing in the arts.
You think this will make a difference for him?
I do. I think it'll bring out the creative part in him, and it introduces also some new cultures and different ways to do art.
Nootka Elementary in East Vancouver has hired specially trained teachers. About 30% of their class time will focus on students developing new creative skills.
Instead of just using paper to express themselves, they'll now be using art, they'll be using drama, they'll be using dance, and they'll be using music. And in that way, they'll be expressing themselves, which I think is really exciting.
There are, the elements of design and so they learn about line and shape and color and texture and pattern and all that kind of thing. And it'll depend on the age of the children.
Some simple things you need for a fine arts school. This is not just a ramp leading into the classroom. What it means is this floor has been built up a little bit. Got a little bit of give to it. This will probably be the dance studio or classroom. You feel like you're breaking some new ground here?
Well, for Vancouver, we definitely are. There are a few schools, but we have an opportunity here to start something very special. The intent is that it will be a K-12 program. We're K-3.
All students still get all the curriculum basics, only those who apply take the full fine arts program. 55 this year from around the city, 27 students from the neighborhood.
In my other class, my grade 2, we didn't do a lot of drama, so I'm looking forward for drama. More drama.
Applications are at Nootka School, but it's full. Spaces in the standard program are guaranteed for kids in the catchment area. In East Vancouver, Mike Bothwell, Citypulse.
Still ahead on Citypulse.
I'm Lee Morrow on Battison Street, where an investigation continues into yesterday's explosion that has destroyed a local Taiwanese family.
Also, we'll have the latest in that fatal drive-by shooting at a Nanaimo gas bar.
I'm David Kincaid in Vancouver. What bugs you about trying to find a place to park in the downtown core? The list is a long one.
An extensive search is underway this hour on Georgia Strait for a Langley man overdue from a long weekend kayaking trip. 28-year-old Tyler Carlson last spoke to his family on Monday from Nanaimo. He was kayaking solo in the waters north of Departure Bay, but did not return as scheduled yesterday. Carlson's car was found in Horseshoe Bay this afternoon. A Buffalo aircraft and a search boat will scour Georgia Strait until dark. If you have seen Tyler Carlson, you are asked to call Marine Search and Rescue. The number is 1-800-567-5111. More questions than answers as the investigation continues into the death of a Vancouver couple after their southeast Vancouver house exploded Tuesday, an explosion that police believe could have been deliberately set. Lee Morrow has our story.
Michelle Pan's parents arrived at the scene of their daughter's death today. Her mother in the gold top and her father in the blue shirt had flown directly from Taipei at the news that their daughter's family home in southeast Vancouver had mysteriously exploded, killing Michelle and her husband, Shi Sheng-Teng. But their 2 children and Teng's parents survived. Today, reporters asked police if there was evidence of a murder-suicide.
Well, at this point, again, we're not sure exactly what the motive is until we get the autopsy results to exactly determine what the cause of death was on the 2 individuals. We'll have a better idea at that point.
The explosion turned into a homicide investigation when police discovered an accelerant may have caused the explosion, and that has weighed heavily on those who know the family.
Because it's awful, and we are immigrant too, right?
This woman, who does not want to be identified, knows both Teng children, 10-year-old Alex and 14-year-old Amberly, who go to this school. Amberly Teng is seen here in her June graduation picture.
And she grew a lot since she came here in Canada. Young
Blossom.
lady, yes.
And she often talked to Amberly's dad, Shi Sheng, as he dropped off and picked up the 2 from school.
He's so nice and very gentleman. He told me, he has a tutor, right? He hired a tutor, $30 per hour.
And Michelle Pan's former employer, Formosa Travel, is trying to help the family with the complicated decision of where the children will now live.
Michelle Pan was also a local contributor to the World Journal, the local Taiwanese paper, where she would often chronicle here on the homepage her family's happy integration from life in Taiwan to a very different life here in Vancouver. Those articles are now haunting, considering yesterday's events.
In southeast Vancouver, I'm Lee Morrow, Citypulse.
The Cap Rouge 2 tragedy continues to dog Robert Thibault, the minister responsible for the Canadian Coast Guard. Now a petition is being circulated asking for a clarification of the policy that has prevented rescue divers from entering overturned vessels. Videographer Daryl Patton brings us the story.
want it here, written in stone, that it's going to be changed, that these divers can go in to rescue somebody on a boat, on an airplane, in a car, anything, you know. That's what they're there for. That's what they were trained for.
Les Bigger is doing all he can to prevent another tragedy like the Cap Rouge 2. He's circulating a petition to be presented to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans, Robert Thibault. It asks the minister to provide the Coast Guard with adequate resources and especially a clear policy on when rescued divers can enter an overturned vessel.
This is a Canadian thing. This isn't just the West Coast. We got Coast Guard on both sides. We want to save all lives, not just over here.
It's been over 3 weeks since the Cap Rouge 2 overturned at the mouth of the Fraser River. The policy that prevented the divers from entering the overturned vessel is becoming increasingly unclear as criticism of the minister, Robert Thibault, and the policy grows. The Galiano Island community that was the home of most of the victims is still struggling with the loss. Yesterday, the school that the two children, Amanda and Wyatt Maberly, were to attend had grief counselors on hand. Minister Thibault is scheduled to arrive at the Coast Guard base this Friday, over 3 weeks after the tragic accident. In Richmond, Daryl Patton, Citypulse.
The Nanaimo man charged with gunning down his ex-wife in cold blood has appeared in court. But as the legal proceedings get underway, the mental state of the accused is being called into question. Joseph Sentis was driven into the Nanaimo law courts under heavy guard, while a large contingent of friends and family, including his mother, was on hand to support him.
Just a great guy, and other than that, no comment. Just a great guy.
I don't think the story's over.
What does that mean?
I think the police are probably still investigating further.
The 48-year-old Sentis is charged with second-degree murder in the death of his ex-wife, Rosella Sentis. She was shot in the back while refueling her car at a Nanaimo gas station on Sunday. The couple has 5 children. Sentis has been remanded in custody until the 30th of October.
There's a psychiatric remand being requested by the defense to see if Mr. Sentis is in fact fit to even stand trial. And then beyond that, to see if he is suffering from a disease or mental disorder that would render him incapable of understanding and appreciating his actions, not criminally responsible due to a mental disorder.
Now to a civic issue that bothers almost all of us. Let's see a show of hands. Who among us is not bugged by parking? Exactly. Everyone with a car is bugged by paying for a spot, finding a spot, fitting into a spot. Parking is the subject of tonight's What Bugs You?
Good evening. The parking situation in Vancouver's downtown core is enough to drive the residents psycho. Listen to the horror story of one Amanda Bates.
I lived in London for 4 years. I never had a trouble finding a parking spot then. There was no trouble. I had a residence parking spot in central London. I could park every single night. I come to Vancouver, I can't find a parking spot.
Bates is particularly bugged by the fact that she dutifully paid for one of these resident-only parking permits, assuming it would provide her with a place to park.
What does the residence parking permit get you?
Pretty much nothing right now. I get home from work late. I have to park 2 blocks away on a 2-hour restricted zone because there's nowhere else for me to go.
Only the guy in charge of parking for the city of Vancouver would have a parking meter in his office, and his name is Bob McDonald.
Do people have the wrong idea when they buy a resident parking permit that somehow this sticker on the windshield is going to guarantee them a place to park outside their building?
From day one, we've said to everyone, there's no guarantees here. There is stress on it, but this gives you a priority access over street space that we can make available for you in the residence zones.
New construction in the area is only making the situation worse for the time being, but the city is trying to keep up with our insatiable demand for parking.
Pretty spiffy, and there's still lots of spaces available. This new parkade is part of the city's solution to the problem. Area residents can rent a space in here for about $60 a month, which is about half the going commercial rate.
But Bates isn't buying. She's already paid for her useless sticker, which entitles her to drive around and around and around looking for that elusive place to park. In Vancouver, David Kincaid, Citypulse.
Big or small, he tackles them all. So if you have something that bugs you, Kincaid would like to hear from you. Email him at whatbugsyou@citytv.com. Nobody seems to be bugged by the weather. It continues to be nice despite that shower yesterday morning.
That's
Going to
right.
Continue?
And the hail, too. That could have
And
bugged some
hail.
people. Yeah, but, you know, after the summer we've had, no complaints.
No complaints.
Or else I'll come looking for you. And, you know, we're still could be even for some excitement tonight, Russ. It's still a little bit unsettled out there, and there is the risk of a thunder shower this evening. Let's take a look at the latest conditions at Vancouver International. Still kind of nice. It's still mostly sunny, and the temperature is about 18 degrees, and that's about as warm as it got today if you check the almanac at Vancouver International. A little bit cooler than yesterday's high, still not far from the average high for this time of year. But like I said, there's a risk of a thunder shower tonight and tomorrow, maybe some cloud, maybe some showers, but so far it worked out better today, and we'll tell you what's in the days ahead with a full forecast coming up in just a few minutes. So no complaints either.
Certainly did work out well. Check
You
with
bet.
you later. Thanks, Mark. Coming up on City Pulse, how one young woman brings a touch of beauty to the neglected souls of our living city. And entertainment specialist Darren Maharaj will have a sneak preview of the upcoming Vancouver International Film Festival.
Canucks camp is approaching, and to get you ready, Brian Burke swung a deal today. It's not much, but it's something. Also, we snagged the Caps before they left for their playoff opener. Upsets coming at the U.S. Open, and no more runaround for local cyclers. It's all ahead in sports.
I'm health specialist Cindy Leong. Pushing the age barrier. When are you too old to donate? That story coming up on City Pulse.
Now that everybody's back from their holidays, Canadian Blood Services is hoping donations will pick up. In BC, we are currently not able to meet our blood needs, and the situation is getting worse. Health specialist Cindy Leong joins us live now from the Oak Street Blood Services Clinic. Cindy?
Russ, for months we've been bringing in blood from other provinces just to meet our shortfall. Today in BC there were 428 blood donors, and that's pretty good, but we need 500 every day just to maintain a normal 4-day blood supply. That's why the Canadian Blood Services is actively trying to recruit more young donors and at the same time push the age barrier.
Any longer than necessary, and how's that? I'll leave it in around 20.
60-year-old Ken Davies is celebrating a new milestone today, his 400th blood donation.
You get used to it after a while. It's basically the same as day one.
Today he's donating just platelets, the vital clotting product used to stop bleeding. His red blood cells are returned to him so he can donate more platelets in 2 weeks' time.
It's probably a lot easier to sit down and write a check, but I think it's more fun actually donating blood. It has more meaning. It has more use. But also for health reasons, it's actually very good for the body to donate.
The Canadian Blood Services relies heavily on older donors like Ken to replenish our blood supply. That's why it's proposing to raise the age limit to beyond 71, so that those who are in good health can continue to donate.
Well, right now, 3% of eligible Canadians give blood. And in other countries like the UK and Australia and the United States, 5 to 6% of the eligible Canadian eligible population gives blood. So we do have a long way to go.
Right now, certain types of blood remain in short supply, only enough to last 2 days. It's times like this that former donor Kurt Tanner wishes there were no age barriers to donating.
So many times, I wonder when you hear especially holidays coming up, then a shortage of blood, and it makes my blood boil a little bit because I'm sitting at home, I'm healthy, I can donate, and I'm not allowed to.
So why aren't more younger people stepping up to donate? Is it a matter of making time?
No, it's really not. I'm just lazy.
Well, I would love to. I just haven't really had a chance. Haven't given it like a serious thought. I don't know. I don't like needles.
Officially present you with your certificate of your 400 donations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As for Ken Davies, he's now aiming to top 500 donations if he can.
To help attract more donors, mobile clinics will now operate on Saturdays. The first one will be this one next to the Guildford Mall on this Saturday. If you'd like to donate, call at 188-2DONATE, and you can donate at one of the 3 permanent clinics. Russ?
Thanks a lot. Cindy Leong, our health specialist, reporting tonight from the Blood Donor Center on Oak Street. Some relieving news today for the U.S. government and the American people concerned about a potential war with Iraq. President George W. Bush says he will seek the government's support before he goes forward with any such military action. For the first time, Bush met openly with high-ranking Republicans and Democrats today to discuss the issue of Iraq and his plans for unseating President Saddam Hussein.
The issue is not inspectors. The issue is disarmament. This is a man who said he would not arm up. This is a man who told the world that he would not harbor weapons of mass destruction. That's the primary issue. And I'll be discussing ways to make sure that that is the case.
Bush will meet this weekend with his key ally, British Prime Minister Tony Blair, to discuss ways of dealing with Hussein. And next week, the U.S. leader will address the United Nations on the subject. In the Middle East, Israel has gone ahead with its plans to expel the relatives of Palestinian militants despite growing international criticism. The brother and sister of a suicide bomber hold an angry news conference after being deported from the West Bank to the Gaza Strip. In a controversial and landmark ruling, Israel's Supreme Court gave the military the go-ahead to carry out such measures. Human rights organizations worldwide have criticized the move. A warning now, the following story contains images not suitable for all viewers. 9 South Korean children are recovering from a vicious knife attack tonight, but the emotional wounds suffered by the kids and their parents during today's terrifying ordeal will undoubtedly take much longer to heal. The scene inside the Seoul hospital is chaotic. Parents scramble to make sure their children are alive. Medical staff rush to close the children's wounds. The students were attacked by a knife-wielding man while they were eating lunch in a church school cafeteria. 9 children were stabbed. 3 of them reportedly suffered severe head and neck injuries. A 53-year-old man has been arrested and has admitted to the attack. The man claims to be mentally ill and says he was encouraged by voices in his head telling him to kill as many people as he could. And coming up on Citypulse, a Vancouver landmark has been resuscitated. The Velodrome is back. Also, the latest segment of Our Living City follows a charitable cause that brings some pampering to women who may need it most.
I'm Dave Gary. Just how close to the grassroots do you like your drinks? That coming up on Citypulse. Tomorrow on Breakfast Television, all your news, weather, traffic, plus the man responsible for my tattoos, Thomas Lockhart.
I will be talking to the folks from Triton Films. They make some really cool rock and roll videos. Breakfast Television, 6 a.m. on CityTV.
That's Colin Cunningham. He's got a play called Before Even, the Fringe Festival.
Citypulse weather is brought to you by Milestones, where great food is only part of the story.
Well, yesterday morning aside, it looks like we are getting a hint of an Indian summer, a beautiful September coming up.
Yeah, well, it's still a little bit wonky. You know, early September, we just got to get that out of the way. I know September traditionally is a great month here around Vancouver and the South Coast, but we're still in that weather pattern, Russ, where it could go either way, like yesterday, or it could be very uneventful, just like today. Take a look at the satellite picture right now. We're still in a very unsettled weather pattern, and that still presents us with a risk of a thunder shower as well. And that's especially for this evening. But once that low starts to sort of slide down towards the south, we might see things kind of calm down a little bit, a little less in the way of the threat of showers and a little more in the way of sun. Tomorrow for Greater Vancouver and the Fraser Valley, could get a mix of both, some sun and some cloud, and about a 30% chance of showers right now with temperatures around 20, 21, 22 degrees. Not getting much warmer as you head further in towards the valley. Vancouver Island will be about the same, a mix of sun and cloud. Chance of showers as well, greater chance up to the north. A little cooler there too, cooler out of Tofino, and along the intercoast it'll be around 20 to 22. For the Sunshine Coast, Howe Sound and Whistler, again, a mix of sun and cloud, Chance of a shower as well, about 30 to 40%. Whistler will be 17, Squamish 19, and 20 and 19 along the Sunshine Coast. That pattern is pretty much going to continue Friday and Saturday look to be probably a little more calmer, and then Sunday, we boost the chance of showers up to about 60%. There are showers going on in other parts of the country too. Take a look at the national forecast for tomorrow. Going to be a wet day in Alberta with showers in Edmonton, rain in Calgary, and some scattered showers as well around the around parts of Atlantic Canada, and also some cloud in the west. Sunshine, though, for the east. Take a look at the daytime highs tomorrow. Things will be cooling off a little bit, especially in Calgary. 10 degrees there tomorrow, and only about 13 in Edmonton. A little bit warmer everywhere else, up into the mid-20s in eastern Canada, and the low 20s to the high teens in Atlantic Canada. Take a look at our 5-day forecast then. Things will remain a little bit unsettled tomorrow, getting it better for Friday and for Saturday, and then Sunday, look again for some unsettled conditions, which might include a very strong chance of showers by then, about 60%. UV index tomorrow, it will be moderate at about 4.8, but still, you'll get your bouts of sunshine, so make sure you are sun smart as well. I should emphasize again, too, tonight, Russ, there is a risk of a thunder shower, probably greater along the mountains, a little bit out towards the valley as well. So if it happens, I told you so. If it doesn't happen, great. Okay?
Either way, you're covered.
Either way, I'm covered. That's right, like I always do.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right.
Well, the philosophy is simple. Feeling beautiful is an important step in a woman's efforts to improve herself and her situation. It is a belief that Carolyn McGilvery has turned into concrete action. Tonight's Living City looks at Beauty Night, a unique inner-city program designed to help prostitutes and street kids help themselves.
You want your makeup done?
Sure, why not?
It could be help with makeup, beauty tips, a haircut, a massage. It doesn't take much to make street people feel better about themselves. What do you think of this whole idea of beauty?
I think it's great.
Yeah?
It's great. Fantastic.
You can feel better about yourself?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice to know people are out there that want to help?
Absolutely, especially that.
Beauty Night is the brainchild of Carolyn McGilvery. Several years ago, this aspiring local actress was researching a part at a local drop-in center for sex trade workers. When she reached out to a hooker who was having a bad day, the idea came to her.
I offered to do her hair and her makeup for her, and I did her nails. And afterwards, we had so much fun. It really got me thinking that if I can do this, what happens when get people actually know what they're doing?
So it really helped her, made her day better.
It made her day. A lot of them have been down there since they're 14 years old. And yes, it is the touch as well. Many of them have dealt with physical and sexual violence.
Yeah.
So it's a great way of reintroducing touch to them in a non-threatening, really fun environment, because a lot of them haven't had a chance to be a kid.
At first, Beauty Night reached out to prostitutes, but the idea has mushroomed. Now, street youth are also given the tender touch. Carolyn's gatherings now also offer personal development, courses on nutrition, physical education, and job interview skills. All who work here are volunteers. She now has more than 150 of them.
Just to go out and meet different people, and just to return back, give something else back to the community and
Is
stuff.
that the main thing for you, giving back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Feels good?
I've actually had to make use of the different youth services downtown in the past. So if I can be out here giving back, that's really cool. It's all the youth product for you.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
That's perfect. Thank you.
All the donated stuff.
There are now 3 beauty nights per month, and that means a lot of makeup and supplies, and Carolyn is developing a network of donors to fill the bill. What do you think about Carolyn,
You know
what she's doing?
I think it's fantastic, and I wish I'd have thought of it, but first.
The key here is contact and kindness, a reminder that people actually do care, and Carolyn wants to turn Beauty Night into a worldwide phenomenon. A big step in that direction, national recognition at a special ceremony last May. Carolyn won Flair Magazine's Volunteer Award. You're known around the city now. You've won awards.
Yeah.
Is this what you're doing to make our city a better place?
I like to think that I am in my own small way.
1,200 makeovers so far. Soon a nonprofit society to spread the idea. In future, Beauty Night might not be so small.
falls free from the sky, but people are clamoring for high-priced exotic waters from around the world. Water tasting, designer packaging, and celebrity endorsements. You'll be amazed by this growing trend.
Tomorrow at 6.
Welcome back. Time for entertainment. Darren is here to give us the scoop on this year's International Film Festival.
You got it, Russ. The VIFF, the Vancouver International Film Festival, is right around the corner, and each year they say the film festival is going to be bigger and better than the last one. But this year, well, they really mean it. Check this out.
This will be the biggest festival we have ever had in terms of the number of screenings. We've got over 500 screenings of films at 10 theaters, 10 screens, and that represents over 50 countries from around the world.
And while several blockbuster films are shot here each year, you won't find the same sort of glitz and glamour that you will in Toronto or in Cannes. Instead, organizers here say the Vancouver International Film Festival is more of a reflection of the city.
I think it's reflected in our Dragons and Tigers program, which is the largest Asian program on the continent. We feature a lot of international and North American premieres, largely due to our proximity to the Pacific Rim and also the large Asian population in Vancouver. It's a very, very popular program. As well, the Canadian Images program is the largest showcase of Canadian films in the world.
And the biggest addition to this year's film festival is in the number of screens. With the use of the Granville 7 here in downtown Vancouver, organizers expect an increase in moviegoers.
We had 140,000 people attend the festival last year, which makes it one of the most successful or popular arts events in the calendar. We expect that we'll maybe have 5 or 10% growth this year with the addition of the screens and the blossoming of the city itself.
I better go.
You gonna come around and see me again?
Do you want me to?
It's about a boy who his mother died when he was born, and who was raised by his older sister. And when she turns 16, she gets pregnant, and the boy thinks she'll die too, and he'll lose the only person who cares for him and takes care of him in the world.
I play a very aggressive, angry 18-year-old girl. I have a relationship that's too close with my father. My father falls in love with a woman, Marcia, and she comes over for dinner and I end up punching her in the face, and everything ensues from that.
You do a quick reenactment of how you guys do your special effects sort of punch?
No, yes, maybe.
Not you, just that. It's
I felt that one, you know? I always thought that stuff was real. Who would have figured? Well, the film festival kicks off on the 25th, and it runs for 2 weeks.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Darren, for your
you.
report. Coming up, Dan O'Toole will have all the sports, and the grass is always greener, especially when you drink it. Dave Gary guzzles some turf.
They're tough, they save our lives, and they're launching their 2003 calendar tonight. We'll have a preview of the Vancouver firefighters' annual release on Citypulse tonight at 11.
And now, here are tonight's Lotto 649, BC 49, and extra winning numbers. Look for the bonus number to the right. For a complete listing of all lottery winning numbers, check Luck Magazine at your Lotto store.
Are you feeling a little green around the gills? Perhaps you need a tonic. We sent our old smoothie, Dave Gary, out to the neighborhood juice bar to sample the current cure-all.
I'm down here at Jugo Juice to try a shot of freshly squeezed wheatgrass. I've never done this before. I'm not really a juice bar kind of guy. I'm a milkshake guy. I'm a onion rings and milkshake kind of guy. Now, I know that's not healthy, and I know that, I could drop like a carp on the sidewalk at any moment, but at least I go with a smile on my face and vanilla on my breath. I do like a good Bellini. I think you can get them made with organic peaches, and I have recently discovered the mojito, which comes with a big pile of mint in it. But that's about as natural as my drinks get. It costs $1.95 for a shot of wheatgrass juice, and it's supposed to give me all the chlorophyll and nutrients that I would get if I ate 2.5 pounds of leafy green vegetables.
It's going to do a lot of good things for your system.
Well, isn't that going to just purge me?
Oh, it purges you of all the bad things in your system.
And everything else, wouldn't it?
No.
Wheatgrass is not new. Its proponents say it can heal everything from tumors to hickeys. I don't know. It basically looks like you're going to chug a lug part of your front lawn. Do I want to slurp silage? Down the hatch. I've always been a little skeptical about the whole health food thing. I mean, what if we find out in 20 years that the organic movement was just a clever way of charging us 3 times as much for a bunch of radishes? Some of us are just not wheatgrass kind of people. As we turn that ugly corner and grind our way through middle age, well, maybe we need all the preservatives we can get.
Out of a guy who hangs out at all the juice bars, here's Dan.
Well, see, I like barley, but not wheatgrass.
Yeah, that's natural.
And he had
organic.
some on his nose there. Okay, Russ, we got a plethora of stuff to get to, very little time to do it, so chop. Why don't we? Vancouver Whitecaps to begin the A-League playoffs tomorrow night in Portland. You're right, Caps didn't exactly light the world on fire this year, finishing a game below 500. But they are in the postseason, and right now, that's good enough for us. Hey! Caps a loose bunch heading into the series. They were training this morning at Burnaby Lakes before taking off for Portland. Team knows what they're up against and feel they can continue to build upon the success of their 3-1 win over the Timbers just on Monday.
Definitely going in with the win makes it a lot better. Makes it easier knowing that we can beat them. So hopefully we'll go out there and do well.
We've lost to them 3 times this year, and I think we can look at all 3 games and say we were at fault for all 3.